Hi everyone, welcome to After Dark Analysis. Today we are going to be talking about the urban legend of the hook hand killer.
Okay, so there's this story. Totally happened to a friend of mine. It's this guy and this girl. They're going out. They go park on Lover's Lane. They start making out, doing what teenagers do. All of a sudden, there's this news flash on the radio. Comes in, says some sex maniac has escaped from the local asylum. And his one big distinguishing feature is he's got a hook for a hand. Man, that must suck. Can you imagine trying to run around life with a hook for a hand? Anyway, so his girl gets all worried and freaked out that this maniac's just gonna so happen to show up at Lover's Lane and attack the both of them. So she wants to go home and she wants to go home then. Guy's all like, no, what are the odds of that? What are the chances? Statistically speaking, what are the odds this one guy is gonna come find us in particular? She's not having it. Just keeps going on and on about how she wants to go home, even if the guy locks the door. She points out he could break windows. He's just like, who's gonna do that? But she is just not having it and insisting he take her home. So he's understandably a little pissed off. He thought he was going to get somewhere, and now some random psycho escaping from an asylum's going to kill their good time. So he speeds off, takes her back home, so mad he wasn't even going to get out of the car and open the door for her, but eventually decided to, because they've been going out for a while. It's a spat. Hopefully they'll work it out. You know how those teenage relationships are. You're fighting one minute, you're making out the next. He just thinks it's gonna be like that. He gets out, goes to open the door for her, but before he can touch the handle, his face just goes white. And she starts freaking out because she's never seen him scared before. So she eventually slowly gets out to see what in the world's going on, only to realize the reason he's so scared is there's a hook hanging in the door. So no matter what area or region you're from, you've heard this story. Everyone has. Even if your friends never tried to sell it to you as real, in the movie Meatballs, Bill Murray tells this story around a campfire, and he knows you're alone from 1980. It opens the film with a scene portraying this urban legend. In the slasher Final Exam from 1981, there's a scene that again opens with a couple being attacked in a parked car, and later on, there's a murder in a university locker room with a hook. In the 1997 anthology film Campfire Tales, there's an opening segment retelling this story set in the 50s, which is normally about the setting most of these take place unless they tweak it for modern day. Again in 1997, we have I Know What You Did Last Summer, where the main villain had a hook for a hand. They also do tell this particular story again around a campfire. And the 1999 film Lover's Lane revolves completely around a killer who murders teenagers at Lover's Lane with a hook. So if your friends weren't telling you the story at campouts or slumber parties, you've probably seen it somewhere in media. This has been a prevalent urban legend since around the mid-50s. And believe it or not, it might have a grain of truth in its basis. Between February 22nd, 1946 to May 3rd, 1946. That's 10 weeks in total. There were a string of quote-unquote Lover's Lane murders in Texarkana. The person was never caught and was deemed the Phantom Killer or the Phantom Slayer. 8 people, or 4 couples, were attacked within this period, 5 of whom unfortunately did pass away. Now, if those details sound familiar to you, they were the basis and inspiration for the 1976 film The Town That Dreaded Sundown and its much more modern remake. Obviously, this story doesn't bear quite as much resemblance as it probably once did. Most urban legends quickly go through a phase of telephone to make them relatable to the region or person telling the tale, to make them seem much more viable and believable. So nowadays, with the computer and the cell phones constantly keeping us in contact, most places tend not to have lovers' lanes, but this urban legend seems to endure, and why is that? There's a couple of different reasons, and this one's pretty obvious. It's all a big cautionary moral tale against teenagers having sex. Everything starts out well and good. They are in the car, they're together, they seem to like each other. While there are some iterations where she's not, most tellings, she's cool with them parking. She's good with what's going on until the news bulletin comes across about the escapee. causing her rather insulting caricature of a boyfriend to become upset because he's being denied sex, and that is the worst thing possible. And this is a pretty big stereotype when it comes to teenagers and sex. It's normally the girl doesn't want it, the guy does. Oftentimes that's not the case in reality, but that's neither here nor there. This pushes the girlfriend to be the moral center of the tale. Had she not refused sex, they would have been attacked by the killer. That implication's very clear. So she prevented both the intercourse and the theoretical attack by this psycho, which again hammers home that very long-standing moral tale about girls, you should learn to say no, you need to apply the brakes because he's not going to. The reason being is the boyfriend's supposed to eventually be thankful to the girlfriend that they were able to get away from a dangerous situation because of her insistence and sticking to her guns. If you can't hear my eye roll right now, it's there. This is not subtle and reinforces all sorts of negative stereotypes that are completely outdated, but still seem to persevere in pop culture. Another very important detail of this story is the fact that the boyfriend gunned the engine because he was upset. Him speeding away is what caused the hook to become dislodged from the killer's arm. Because I would imagine that stuff isn't super easy to take off because you don't really want your hand falling off on a regular basis. That seems a little inconvenient. Many also interpret this hook to be a phallic symbol. Again, vocal eye roll. It being ripped off from the killer symbolizes a castration, and how incredibly emasculating that must be. Folklorist Bengt Klintberg, I'm going to put that up on the screen because I'm sure I butchered that, and I'm sorry, interprets this in a much broader way. They say this is a conflict between representatives of normal people who follow the rules of society and those who are not normal, who deviate and threaten the normal group. I think you guys can figure out which is representative of which. So because of these really base understandings and this very obvious morality sense, this is why this urban legend has endured so long in our culture. So what do you think? Have you heard this one before? Have you somehow not heard this one before? Do you think sometimes a hook is just a hook? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if you like what you're seeing, please hit like, comment, subscribe. If you don't like what you're seeing, please leave a comment and let me know. Thank you.